There's a voice that is calling, loudly calling, day by day, the voice of the future.
When I started my business, all I wanted was to create jobs and a legacy for the next generation, because I see opportunity when others see impossibility.
It all started with a thought and then a seed in the garden, which grew into my very own farm that feeds the whole nation daily.
Cotton, silk, and a little bit of treasure, I create masterpieces that give South Africans an identity, comfort, and confidence, because when you look good, you feel good.
From the factory workers to the warehouse and then over the seas, I want to show the world what proudly South African looks like. It all started with just some ink on paper and inspiration to bring people together. With my furniture, I now help create spaces that are beautiful, comfortable, and authentic to human light and connection.
I've always been driven by curiosity. It fueled my dreams to create automobiles that accelerate our nation into greater possibilities and the beauty of the unknown.
I was born into a rainbow nation. My life has been full of colors and mixed flavors. And when I started my bakery, I wanted to share that joy with the world and with South Africans in particular.
All I ever dreamt of was to be a bird and fly high. And now I have the wings to help others fulfill their dreams of flying high too.
But it can only be a dream until you make it a reality. All they need is your faith, your trust, your loyalty, your appreciation.
And most importantly,
Your support
because supporting local businesses
Helps create jobs
And secures our future.
South Africa, their future is in your hands. So what are you going to do about it? Be proudly South African. Buy local to create jobs.
Good morning, I hope you are well. So I am Minentle Khoza, affectionately known also as Dr. K by my students at the University of Johannesburg, where I work in the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology. So I'm not a medical doctor, I am a doctor of philosophy. And today I'll be your facilitator for this webinar, where we will be looking at or discovering local career paths and opportunities for students, right? And we will have a number of speakers today who will be speaking to us about their career journeys and so on, and then you'll get to learn. And then for those of you who are matriculants or high school learners who still need to navigate the whole career path space, you will then get insights on what to do, which careers to choose, and then hopefully you will make informed decisions. You won't be like some of us who just chose careers because they sounded nice, right? So maybe let me also introduce you to what Proudly South African is. Right. So Proudly South African was born from a powerful vision, one that was sparked at the 1998 Presidential Job Summit, which was led by the late and very great Tata Nelson Mandela. It was officially launched in 2001. And this movement is more than just a campaign. It is a commitment to tackle three of South Africa's biggest challenges, which are poverty, inequality, and most importantly, unemployment. So at its core, Proudly South African champions local businesses. It's a membership-based organization where only audited and approved companies earn the right to display the iconic logo. I'm sure you know that logo that has our nice South African flag, right? That's the one. So that logo symbolizes top quality and locally sourced products and services. So by working closely with both the public and the private sectors, Proudly South African drives local procurement through supply chain and inspires everyday consumers to make conscious buying decisions, whether it's in store or it's online, right? And then I would like to say this, that the message around Proudly South African products is simple, but yet a very powerful one, right? The message is this, that you should buy local to create jobs, because if you do so, then it means that every rand that is spent on homegrown products will then fuel South Africa's economy and secure jobs for our people. As you know, that we do have issues of unemployment within our country, right? And then we will have an esteemed panel of industry experts. So they'll share insights on their career journeys. They'll also share insights on opportunities within the agri-processing and manufacturing space. We'll also have a speaker who will speak about mining, and we'll also have a speaker who will touch on transformational leadership, right? And then once we are done with that, we'll then conclude with a question and answer session. So I do encourage you to, whenever you have questions, as and when you think of them, just type them on the chat box. And then during the question and answer session, we'll then read the questions and try to answer the questions that you have, right? And then also, please, you know, we have presence in social media, and you know how the social media streets are. They're very important, right? So that history doesn't judge you wrong. Please do comment on the social media platforms. So if you are on Twitter, you will find us at Proudly SA. And then if you are on Instagram and you want to share your comments and your thoughts there, you will then look for at proudly.sa, like you can share your insights, share what you have learned today, and your thoughts about the webinar, right? And then, of course, if you're on Facebook, you will then find us on Proudly South African, right? The full names now, okay? And then we will also share the handles on the chat box for you to access them easily, right? And then we also have a hashtag today, which simply says buy local to create jobs. Okay. Now, without further ado, I will maybe first, before I introduce the first speaker, I'll then just introduce myself briefly to tell you about my history, which also forms part of the career paths that we'll be talking about, which will then lead us to the next speaker, who will then talk about the career in agribusiness, right? So I am a food technologist by profession. Food technology is basically the science behind food, right? And the products that we have, right, that are manufactured in the food industry, some of them have or bear the Proudly South African logo. So by so doing, we are also associated with the Proudly South African brand, right? So we have, in food technology, there's different sectors within the whole food technology branch, right? There's things like food regulations, there's things like food quality assurance, there's auditing of food premises, there's chemistry, there's microbiology, but all of this is to ensure that we have products that are safe for human consumption, right? So I do lecture at the University of Johannesburg under the Department of Biotechnology and Food Technology, specifically under the Food Technology wing. So when we talk about career opportunities in South Africa, it's a subject that is very close to my heart because I also do coordinate work integrated learning, right? Where we help students get employment opportunities within the food sector, right? So even with today's webinar, we will be sharing with you guys about career opportunities, and hopefully you will then be able to make informed decisions. Okay, so without further ado, I will introduce our first speaker. All right. Let me quickly get her profile. So our first speaker will talk about the manufacturing space, right? And as well as engineering, right? Where we talk about building a sustainable future. So Mika is our first speaker. She is a seasoned professional with a strong foundation in both psychology and business. She earned her Bachelor of Commerce in Psychology from Stellenbosch University in 2012, and later completed the Essentials of MBA program in 2003. I'm sure you know, in 2023, I'm sure you know what an MBA is, right? Something that is very hard to attain. So she has been a pivotal member of the ABC since 2014, right? That's about 9 years ago. And joining when the company had just when the company had just 34 employees. Over the years, she has shown unwavering dedication, playing an instrumental role in the company's growth. She also has personally interviewed and recruited over 90% of the current workforce, demonstrating her commitment to building a strong team. You had that 90%. In 2024, she was recognized as the overall winner of the prestigious Future of HR Awards, a testament to her leadership and innovation in the field. She is one of ABC's most passionate advocates and is proud to be part of the company's journey. Her enthusiasm for the ABC brand is infectious, and it inspires those around her. I'm sure even you as the attendee there at home are inspired. So she'll be taking us through her career journey. She'll tell us about manufacturing, the engineering industry, and how to build a sustainable future for South Africa. Right.
Thank you very much for that. It felt like I learned a few things about myself just now. Um, I'm Mika, like she just mentioned. I am going to speak about manufacturing and engineering. I work for Africa Biomass Company. We are 21 years old this year, and we are in the biomass recycling industry. It is quite a new industry in South Africa, but it is very exciting in terms of the opportunities we have. And we are proud to say that we are the market leaders within the biomass industry in our country. Yes, I'm going to speak from that perspective. And I wanted one of our engineers to facilitate this conversation or this morning, but unfortunately they said I would be the best one to do this, so I'll try my best. Okay, so like I've mentioned, I'm excited about all the opportunities in manufacturing and engineering. It's really a rapidly evolving field, offering high impact roles and opportunities across various industries. So whether you are passionate about design or technology or systems, and specifically in the biomass industry, passionate about sustainability, this could be a career path for you. So for example, at ABC, we've got qualified engineers, but we've also got people in the workshop that works closely with the engineers. So, and they together, they form a team and form or play a key role in creating high quality products. And especially in our field, there's a lot of room for innovation and improvement because, like I mentioned, we are um, situated in a new industry in our country. So that's a lot of excitement going with that, and also a lot of trial and error. And that is when you need an engineering mindset. So I'm going to focus on the different types of engineering that we can that we get, and also that we've got within our company. So manufacturing engineering is the first one. So that we see as the backbone of the process. So they focus on optimizing the production line, ensuring products are made efficiently, and improving of the manufacturing process. So this would include design of new systems, automating tasks, and reducing waste. Um, so in our industry, we build biomass related products. So we would do wood chippers and yes, like I mentioned, biomass related products. So that would be compost turners or mulches or mulch spreaders, everything related to the biomass industry. So at ABC, we've got a team of engineers driving this, and they need to keep us and the industry at a cutting edge of production, quality, and efficiency. So that will be the main focus of the manufacturing engineers. Then we move to the mechanical engineering sector. So after this product has been designed and manufactured, it needs to be maintained. So it's a versatile field, and they need to understand the design and an analysis, but they would be the more hands-on people. These are the people that will, in a lot of cases, get their hands dirty. They will be able to assist an artisan with the job and tell them what can work and what will not work. Um, so at ABC, they work very closely with our artisans, and they develop um, functional products. So when it comes from the design engineers, sometimes it doesn't work in the field. So there's a lot of trial and error. The mechanical engineers, they fine tune this for us, and then they also assist with the maintenance of the products and the equipment that's being manufactured. So for instance, at Africa Biomass Company, a large part of our company is a contract. It's a contract business, so you basically hire a full team of experts to do the job for you. And our maintenance team and mechanical engineering team plays a key role in that. And then in the times that we are operating or functioning, we need to take cost and optimal cost. What's the correct word? Lowering costs into consideration. So the mechanical engineers play a big part there because they can save you a lot of money if you streamline the process correctly. Then thirdly, we move on to the industrial engineering part. These engineers focus on the more complex processes and systems. So again, at ABC, we've got a support team with industrial engineers. They are the supply chain people, the people that optimizes the system, if you think about a car factory, we're not at that level yet, but then there would be somebody implementing the the systems there. So the goal is to optimize productivity while minimizing cost and waste if you are an industrial engineer. And this is a growing field, and in our opinion, especially in South Africa, um, there's a lot of opportunities in this field because they can assist you with optimizing your systems. And when you optimize your systems, obviously you would be lowering your expenses. Um, so at ABC, they assist us with optimizing the process from raw material handling to the final product and also assembly of our wood chippers. Then fourthly, robotics and automotive engineering. So this is a relatively new field. Um, I see at some schools they are starting this or implementing this as well as or robotics as a one of the subjects, but this is really cutting edge new stuff. And then the clever people or tech savvy people also incorporate AI in this. Um, at ABC, we are in the process of automating systems so that our operations and engineers can have a better system to improve efficiency again and reduce manual labor, bringing the best of both worlds together. So optimizing your personnel as well as your systems would create a better opportunity for a thriving business. Then fifthly, quality control and assurance. So for these of you that are interested in making sure the products meet the highest standard, there's a QA role. So they work closely together with the engineers and they need to understand the engineering process and strict standards. They work to identify defects and recommend improvements. Wherever you work in the biomass industry or consumer electrics, quality control is an essential part of the manufacturing process, ensuring safety, reliability, and performance. At ABC, our quality assurance team, which include both engineers, artisans, and QA officers, ensures that our product meets the highest standard before it reach our customers. And then I think the core focus not for South Africa, for ABC that ties in with our mission and vision is environmental and sustainability. So, um, sustainability is a priority at our company and within our manufacturing industry. So these engineers work to ensure that the companies adhere to environmental regulations, minimize the carbon footprint, and develop an eco-friendly manufacturing process. This could involve improving energy efficiency, reducing waste, or developing greener technologies. In ABC, we actively promote this and we focus on sustainable development. And our engineers and artisans always needs to find a way to reduce the environmental impact while not compromising on quality. And those of you that would like to go further, there's also career paths beyond engineering. So at ABC, we see our engineers into more management role at a later stage, and we like them to contribute their skills to uplifting others. So to sum it all up, the manufacturing and engineering sector offers a diverse array of career opportunities from hands-on roles in designing and optimizing systems to leadership positions overseeing entire production processes. So whether you're into robotics, sustainability, or improving industrial processes, there's a path for you. At ABC, we both employ engineers and artisans, recognizing the value that both technical experts and craftsmanship bring to the table. The key to success in this field is to stay curious, adapt to new technologies, and continuously build on your skills. And remember, with the right skills and mindset, you could play a part in shaping the future of our country and how products are made and how industries evolve. Thank you very much for your time. That's me.
Much, Mika. Maybe before we let you go, I know that there's a Q&A question at the section at the end, but I would like to know, how did you learn about this? Maybe for a young person who has joined in, right? Where did you hear about this manufacturing space and this engineering? I heard you speak about manufacturing. I heard you speaking about mechanical engineering, quality control opportunities, quality assurance, and ultimately you told us about how your company ensures sustainability, right, or sustainable development of your product, which then ties to the UN sustainable goals. But I just want to hear your story, maybe briefly. How did you find out about this field?
um, I landed in this field by accident, I think. Um, but so I'm not an expert on engineering at all. But within the sector that I've been working for more than 11 years, I've picked up a lot of things. And I work for an entrepreneur that's really good with engineering. So I think most of my knowledge and skills I've learned through the years from him, and then obviously working closely with engineers on a daily basis, but more focused on the personnel side than the actual engineering side. So yes, I hope that answers your question.
So much struggling to unmute myself there. It does answer my question, and you actually tapped into something else, right? Entrepreneurship, which is what proudly a South African would then also advocate for, right? Within the country, for us to be able to be entrepreneurs come up with new products that are proudly South African, locally manufactured, processed in South Africa, and ultimately we get to have job opportunities. So thank you so much for giving us the insights. I think you were able to paint a picture to our the attendees, right, in terms of how things work, how the product will start from being waste to manufacturing, and then how also engineers are then involved in the whole process to how the mechanical engineering guys will have to get their hands dirty as they troubleshoot, and ultimately the quality assurance of your products, because at the end of the day you want to still produce products that are of good quality, and that's what we advocate for. So to those who are joining us, please do not forget to also, if you have any questions, just put them on the chat box. Also on Twitter, like I said previously, for those who just joined in, we are there at Proudly SA. So if you just type Proudly SA, you'll be able to find us, and then you can share your insights. You can tell us what you learned about ABC, the career opportunities in the engineering space. You can also comment on our Instagram page, right? The Proudly South African Instagram page, which is proudly.southafrica.sa, sorry. And then on Facebook, it's Proudly South African, right? The full word. Okay. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate you sharing your insights and helping to paint a picture. That was a beautiful way of presenting or representing the manufacturing and engineering space. I'm actually seeing that there's even overlaps between the food industry and the manufacturing and engineering space, which is something that I never really thought about, but I see that there's almost similar processes, even though we are different, we are producing different types of products, but it seems like you need more or less the same type of expertise. And it then goes to show that with this engineering expertise, you can then move even from industries, because if there's a quality assurance or quality control engineer that is needed in at ABC, they could also be needed in other companies that produce other types of products. Or if you're a mechanical engineer, I believe that there's equipments in even the food space or even the biotechnology space, so you would still be able to be then hands-on should you choose a career there. It means now you won't be just stuck in one field, but you'll be able to maneuver around. And if we are talking about manufacturing, it means now as long as a product is manufactured, then you are able to secure a job. And that's the kind of careers that we want to highlight and advocate for, because at the end of the day, we want to go to university or college, attain your degree or diploma, and then ultimately get a job. And the aim is that you get a job, acquire skills, like Mika mentioned, that she works for an entrepreneur. Ultimately, we do encourage you to also now tap into that space, see how you can contribute to South Africa, right? When you talk about what we need, which is mostly job creation within the country. And of course, remembering the quality aspect of things, that whatever you produce should be of high quality standards, using locally sourced raw materials where possible, and rendering those services to South Africa so that we help our economy grow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dr. K, if I may add something to what you've
Yes.
just said. So if there's one thing that I've learned from my human resource experience, is that there's many principles across various fields that are applicable. So I don't, or we don't interview people with experience in the biomass industry, because like I mentioned a few times, it's new in South Africa. But if you've got the basic principles, for instance, if you come from a food background and you are a QA specialist, then please apply for the position, because the basic principles will still be the same. So I want to encourage people to take the leap of faith and apply. If you've got the experience, is not necessarily within the same industry. Yes. So, but thank you.
Thank you so much. And I guess you also get to meet different people from all walks of life, since you are in HR within this field. And then that's where you get these insights from, right? To say some people come from a biotechnology background, but they can still lend themselves there. Some come from a food technology background, some come from biochemistry and whatsoever. But at the end of the day, it means that there are job opportunities within the engineering space, which is quite pleasing to hear, especially for me, someone who works in a university, because sometimes we worry that we are producing all these graduates, but where are they going? So this is very comforting, and I think it then drives the point home to those ones who are still trying to navigate which careers to take and so on. Thank you so much. We will move on to our second speaker. So now we will be moving on to engineering, right? We are going to be talking about mining, and how it contributes to South Africa's resource-based economy. So we're talking about people who go underground and who actually secure a job opportunity that maybe some people are not familiar with. I don't think when I was in high school, I knew that there was mining engineering. So our speaker will be Siphela Makete Tema, who is a mining engineer and a mining sustainability executive with over 14 years of experience and is currently employed as a general manager for tailings and remining at the Fraser Alexander's South Africa and Namibia operations. So you can already tell that the company is international, right, within Africa. He also serves as a board of the Fraser Alexander's joint venture subsidiary with a mining host community in South Africa. The company is the largest outsourced tailing management service provider in the world, right? Sipela holds a BSc and an MSc in mining, and he also studied at Oxford, right, where he attained an Oxford Executive Leadership Program certificate, and also a postgraduate diploma in business administration. He serves on the Southern Africa Institute of Mining and Metallurgy Young Professionals Council. So I'm just going to end there with his bio, and then he will join in and share about mining engineering and the opportunities there, and ultimately give us an insight about his story. Where did it start? How do you start when you get into that type of a career field? Over to you, Makete.
Okay, no, thanks, Dr. Koza. Am I audible? Is the voice test working out?
Loud and clear.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Thank you, Program Director. Thank you to the Proudly South African organization for the opportunity and for making this opportunity possible, for everybody who's on the call today. I just want to start with two thoughts before I even talk about myself a little bit, and also go into a brief presentation about the contribution of mining to the economy. The two thoughts I want to share. The first thought is that is to really firstly say that mining, so a human body, also if from the time that somebody is a baby to for a lifetime, needs about 3 million minerals, fuels, and different types of elements, which are primarily from mining. So mining is not only for mining engineers and mining people. Mining is for all of us. Mining is essential to everyday life. And anyone who's interested can actually follow a career in mining. And there's so many opportunities. And these opportunities are coming from the challenges the industry is facing now, but also from the historical context of the industry, where the industry comes from, and the demands of the future in terms of where the world needs to go. And I'll be touching on that in my presentation. As Dr. Koza has already said, so I studied mining engineering. I was born and bred in Limpopo province. I studied mining engineering at the University of the Witwatersrand, and immediately after graduation, then started a career in mining. I've worked for a number of blue chip mining companies over the years, and it's really been a fulfilling career. And I would like to urge more and more of the audience to consider careers in mining. And I'll explain a little bit more in my presentation why it's so important for us to, particularly South Africa and even Africa at large, to leverage, on this big mineral endowment that we've got, to chart a future towards transformation, industrialization, of our country, so that we can all have a bright future. There's always, comments that, in terms of benefit from mining, the people in the mining communities, the people in the host communities, even the countries that host mining and minerals don't benefit from the mining value chain the way that they're supposed to. But that can only change, with a fresh and new generation of critical thinkers and, problem solvers that can change the industry's fortunes. I'm going to ask that the presentation be shared. I don't know if I should do it from my side.
Please go ahead and share from your side.
Is it? Okay. All right. Let me do that. Sorry. Apologies, I shared it with colleagues here. I thought they would have it ready, but just a moment and then I'll share quickly. Okay. Let's see if my... Right. Share presentation.
As you're busy trying to share the screen, I think I'm also learning quite a number of things. I thought, okay, there we go with the presentation. I'll just share then once you're done.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Yeah, so just figuring out, moving from different virtual platforms, you sometimes forget the basics. But no, thanks. So I'll just quickly do a quick rundown. I'll start with just introducing the business that I work for and what we do. And then I'll go through a couple of slides just talking about the industry and what are the opportunities for young people and as well as, challenges that we need to overcome. So I work for Fraser Alexander, has been said before. The company has been around for over 100 years, 113 years this year. And our purpose is really to transform mine waste into societal, environmental, and economic value. So the ethos of the business is really been about looking at an opportunity in mining, that there's so much waste that is generated from operations. And the organization then took the advantage to say, this is a business opportunity. So the point I'm trying to put across is that for all the problems, challenges that we see in society, there's actually a business opportunity right in there if we really look clearer. And we can take some of these challenges that are so well spoken about and well documented, and we can use them as young people as career opportunities, as entrepreneurial opportunities, and we can actually make a big impact and transform, our lives, the lives of, of society. So the company has been around, as I said, for a while. We've got the company is 100% majority Black women owned. It's a South African company. The company is in 9 different countries on the South African continent, in South Africa, on the African continent, as well as in LATAM, which is the Brazil, Chile area. We also have some operations, in Australia, and we're also looking at other markets as well. So we are quite a global company, and we have just under 3,000 employees at the moment. And really, what we offer the mining industry, is 4 main offerings. The first one being tailings management, as well as remining. So tailings management, it's about taking tailings dams, which is really mine dumps. When the mine processes material, the waste that comes from that process is being deposited. And those of you who come from mining communities, you'll see all these man-made mountains of waste. So that's really what we do. We manage those to ensure that you don't have disasters. But secondly, we also remind them. So where there's still value, in some of those dams, we reprocess them, and you can really extract and get minerals out of those dams. The third offering for us is to retreat water. Most mining areas, in most cases, are water scarce. So we take excess water from the mines, either from the process systems, and then we give it back to the mine for recycling. In some cases where there's excess water, we treat that water for consumption by humans, and different companies will then share that water with the municipalities, with the communities. And the last aspect is mineral processing, the last offering where we add value, to the end product of mining. And adding value means that instead of taking a product from mining in raw form, we do additional metallurgy, additional chemical engineering to make that end product a lot more valuable than it is as a raw material. And, that is the value add part of it. So that's what we do. moving on to the business of today. So I'm going to be talking about mining and how it contributes to South Africa's resource-based economy. And I did make the point earlier to say that mining is not only for mining people, it's actually so important. It's a comparative advantage for South Africa. It's a comparative advantage for the continent of Africa. And if one looks at all the socio-economic challenges that we have, mining, I believe, is one of those areas where if properly managed, properly led, we can definitely find ways that we can, take our continent, out of the poverty, improve employment. Being such a young continent, we can use the energy of young people on the continent to really take the continent forward. But maybe to kick off, starting off with a question around South Africa's mining industry. There's always a question that asks, is the South African mining industry a sunrise or is it a sunset industry? And generally, people would say, yes, in the past, we used to have a lot of gold mining, and the gold mining is not as, we're not number one anymore, not even the top 10 anymore. And people then make the assumption that we are, a sunset industry. When you look out the window and you travel the country, you see so many mines or old mines that are not in use anymore. You can easily make the conclusion that we're not a sunset industry. We are a sunset industry. So my view is that the industry, whether it's sunrise or sunset, will depend on what we are doing today and what we are going to do in the future. Because the fact is that we still have the minerals. We might not have the abundance of the gold minerals or the gold resources that we had in the past, but there's so many different minerals that we have found in the last 5 decades, really, that have still positions us as the world's biggest host of these minerals. And the case in point is, we've got the most known PGM reserves of the whole world, and the same as well for manganese. So moving on, then I just want to touch on some perspectives as well on the same question, there's 2 perspectives of the South African mining industry. So there's one perspective shared mainly by the people in the mining host communities, people who have worked on the mines before, where, it seems as if our communities are paying the price of South Africa's mining history. And this can be extended to some of the terms such as the resource curse that is mainly used when people talk about Africa. And that's where the abundance of mineral reserves and resources don't translate into economic progress and success for a lot of host nations in Africa. So that is perspective number 1. And there's also a perspective, which I call perspective 2, where we look at the industry and how much it's been contributing to our GDP in South Africa, over the last 5-6 decades. And it has had so much contribution. If you look at the top 10 companies on the continent, African companies on the continent by market cap, 10 of them are South African, were made in South Africa, or were built from South Africa. So we've built such a big
Maketa, I don't think we can hear you anymore. But as we wait for you to reconnect, maybe what I can say is that I'm okay. I think you're reconnecting now. Is that okay? I think whilst we wait for Maketa to reconnect, I'm learning quite a number of things about the mining engineering space, right? That it's not just about getting underground, getting the minerals and then shipping them to somewhere or producing products out of them and selling them, but that there's more to it than what meets the eye, right? Oh, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what went wrong there. Okay, I'll just go back to the presentation. Apologies. Thank you so much. Apologies. I think there was a network dip and I lost connection.
No problem.
Thank you very much. Is my screen sharing again?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Happy, thank you.
Okay.
So dominant perspective really depends on how you look at it. But each perspective has got its own pros and cons. The first perspective is that communities are looking at the industry, and asking the question that, what has the industry been doing? Mining in these communities. Why do we have so many ghost mining towns in South Africa? Where after the mining activities have lapsed, communities don't have progress. The other perspective is that we've built so much, corporate and institutional knowledge in mining. How are we using that to transform this industry going forward? Then there's also just looking at, this is 2023, 2024 numbers of where do our minerals actually go. So without going into the individual countries and so forth, but the point here is that most of these exports of minerals that is shown by the four graphs, it's currently in raw form, meaning that we're selling to the market a cheap product and not selling, a value-added product. And this is where the for large volumes of raw materials being traded in foreign exchange, but we need to be more economically and being able to add value instead of selling platinum, in its metal form, but maybe start looking at production of platinum, of manufacturing components that make use platinum, because this is a lot more expensive than. So many opportunities facing the industry today, and the reason for this, as I said, that understanding these challenges and opportunities helps us to think about areas in mining and to think about opportunities for entrepreneurship and advocacy in the industry that can really make a big difference. The first one is ESG, which really talks about environmental and social and governance, which has been in the last decade accelerated in business language to say, look, you can't just do business. What is the interface between business and the people around the business? And this includes internal stakeholders all the way out to external stakeholders, as well as the environment, and how we report on some of these interfaces. And it's a big issue. And we are still in a forming stage, in my view, because there's still not we're not at a stage where we can say the industry is fully ESG compliance. It's some work that needs to be done. Although, if you look at from where we come from, we're actually at a very advanced stage. So we need professionals in the industry who understand environmental issues, social issues, and governance issues. And those might not necessarily be engineers, to come and assist the industry in understanding how to navigate around this terrain of ESG. License to operate. So this refers to, before you can mine, you firstly need a regulatory license to mine. Normally, in most countries, they're called either mining permits or mining licenses. They are not so easy to get, especially in countries like ours, where mining does not have a great legacy. So communities have a lot of questions for you if you want to mine in their backyard. What are you going to do different that the industries or the mines of the past did not do? So it's so hard to get. And again, here, it means we need people to come into the industry with ideas of how we can make sure that mining or communities are better off post-mining. People who can think about alternative economies to mining, so that the community is not only fully reliant on mining, and the day that mining, the resources finish, the mining resource is not there forever. How does that community survive beyond mining? So these are not necessarily engineers. It's people who understand, community models, micro and macroeconomic models, and how communities can be sustained beyond mining, even environment.
All right, as we wait for him to also reconnect, those things happen. Sometimes we do have those issues with the internet, but I think the gist of it is that there's quite a lot of opportunities within the mining sector, and that there is a lot, right, that needs to be done or that can be done from a South African context. Like you had him mentioning things like that when we produce products, we sometimes export the products to other countries, but that also as we produce the mining or as we get the minerals from the mining sector, we also then produce waste, which could be a business opportunity, right, for those who want to then clear up the waste. And also, he spoke about even water treatment, right, where that could be a field that you also tap into from a mining point of view. Okay, I think he's back once he unmutes, and then we'll be able to hear if we can hear him. All right, perfect.
No, apologies. Yeah, I don't know what's going on today, but I'll just try to be quicker as well. Thank you so much. So we're talking about just the license to operate. There's also the social license to operate. How do we take communities into the confidence of the industry that mining is a partner to them, that will ensure the communities are successful going forward? So that is also difficult. Then there's geopolitics affecting most of the industries. We all know about the geopolitical issues, the wars that are happening around the world affecting global supply chains. So supply chain professionals must come into mining and help the industry. How do we move these products of mining in the space of geopolitics? Then there's technology innovation. If you look, one of the pictures that I have at the bottom of the screen on the left is artisanal mining in Africa, which is being done mostly in a manual way. So how do we find ways to innovate and find new technologies to help communities in Africa who are doing work in the artisanal mining space, which is estimated to have about 40 million people working in that space. Even the South Africa's mining industry, there's some of the methods that we are using now are quite outdated. But in the advent of new technologies that we have today, how can we use them to propel the industry forward? Cost and productivity, efficiencies into the industry. Maybe this is the place where engineers also need to come up with ideas. The workforce, very important. If we are going to transform the industry, we need a different workforce that understands the future needs of the industry, understands the future requirements in terms of how to operate in this changing world, this VUCA world the industry is in. So we're going to need a different workforce, differently trained, different skills, and new business models, because we cannot operate the way that we've operated over the last century. We need to operate different. We need to be attractive as an industry, also to attract skills of young people who want to be part of mining. Capital, always a challenge, because mining is not the only investment in the world. Investors have got other opportunities. So how do we make sure that mining can still attract capital and compete with other industries that are more advanced, to get the money that it needs to develop countries like South Africa and the continent of Africa, etc. We need investment bankers who understand the industry. Cybersecurity right across, there's so many different, it's a whole new industry now. There's cybercrime, there's so many security systems that you need today if you've got softwares and you're working online, etc. So we need cybersecurity specialists in the industry, regulatory certainty. We need people in government who are trained to understand, the regulatory environment, the policy-making processes to advise government on making the right policies. And infrastructure also well-documented. We need civil engineers. We need engineers of different kinds. We need construction skills for us to build, to convert South Africa into a construction site. And also skills to transform artisanal and also small-scale mining, because small-scale miners tend to face different challenges from big miners who are able to navigate through them much better. So success will defy a different set of skills. So there's also a new big opportunity, which is around the needs of the future. And one of the ones that is being talked about quite a lot is the critical minerals and the future that is green. If one just looks at the two graphs, starting with the one on the left, it says the demand for green energy is going to turn up, or it's going to multiply 4 times, in the next, say, 25 years, 15 years, sorry. So how are we going to meet this demand? We need to mine more, but we need to mine specific minerals that can make sure that we can then give this future that we want to achieve of clean energy. As we all know, this stems from the fact that there's facts now and consensus around global warming that we need to reduce so that we all have a future. So we need green minerals to do that. And one looks at the other table that I've got here that talks about the battery value chain. So I mentioned earlier that it's not enough to end at the stage of metals or of mining, because if you look at the market value at the bottom, you can see how big those numbers become as you move on those arrows from 11 billion from mining to EVs, electric vehicles, and looking at $7 trillion US. So there's so much value downstream. So the industry needs to move away, and particularly in South Africa and Africa, from just being producers towards also consuming through manufacturing, through other industries, so that we can also get value from the other parts of the value chain. So that also need collaboration from different aspects of government and new skills coming into the market to make that possible. If one looks at the demand that it brings back to the industry, all these metals that are here, South Africa has them, Africa has them in abundance. And this is the demand. So we need more minds, we need more skills, we need more knowledge for us to achieve and to meet these global demands. One looks at the job report, this is the WEF, the World Economic Forum job report, talking about the skills of the future. I also saw there's a new report released this year. I still need to go through it, but I would be surprised if there would be a big change on what skills are needed. The point I'm making here is that the same skills will be needed for mining, because we cannot mine the same way we've mined many years ago. We need to be more efficient, and we need some of these skills to make mining future ready. And just looking at the mining value chain in terms of career opportunities, these are the 6 stages of the mining value chain, that they teach at universities, but all of them have got different career paths that one can follow. And of course, a lot of them you'd have to go through a mining industry institution or company to be aware of them. But these are all opportunities, to add value into the industry and look at how can you place yourself. I mean, you can be in mining and be in logistics, and provide logistics and transport. And that can go all the way from rail, all the way to, trucks and on the road, to even some, shipping and so forth, so to market, etc. So there's so many opportunities in mining that young people should look at today and see how they can place themselves best. And all of them are available not only to mining people, but to everyone who's interested. Also sitting on a big landmine in terms of opportunity of Africa. And here I've just made a few examples. We sit with a third of the world's known resources in terms of mining, and South Africa is up there amongst the countries that have got the most resources in Africa. So, and the picture on the left shows you that every African country, and these are just the leading production minerals by country, but if you actually go into each country, there is a very big rainbow of what is available. So every country has got something to offer the world, and that's why sometimes people talk about fighting for the soul of Africa. But South Africa has got such a big portfolio of minerals today that we've got just so much variety in terms of can be mined in different provinces. I mean, Limpopo is emerging now as the next destination for mining exploration. The Northern Cape has been there. Gauteng will continue to play an important role. Mpumalanga will continue to play an important role. And the same applies for the Northwest. And the Free State, there's still some resources there as well. So we sit with a third of the world's mineral resources, but we only contribute 3% of the world's gross domestic product. It means we've got 3% of what the world has in terms of resources, but in terms of economic activity, we're only contributing 3%. And that goes back to the point I was making about selling cheap product to the rest of the world, because at least if we've got 30%, and we're producing at the level that we are producing, we should be more economically active and generating money that can come back and develop Africa and South Africa. 40% of the world's gold, up to 90% of its chromium and platinum are in Africa. And 80% of that platinum and chromium resources are in South Africa. It holds 65% of the world's arable land and 10% of the planet's internal renewable fresh water. So we've got water, we've got land, we've got minerals. What more do we need? Well, we need ideas on how we can transform ourselves. We shouldn't be importing in the agro-processing space, and I know there's a whole discussion for expert on that. We've got land, we've got water, we've got minerals. We should be a leading powerhouse, in the rest of the world. I mean, if one compares us by population, we're almost the same number. I think it was 1.3 billion at the end of last year, similar to the number of people that are in China. But China's GDP is 6 to 7 times more than the whole of African continent. So that's a big question to ask ourselves. And how can we use? We've got the world's youngest continent, and by 2035, there will be more young people entering the workforce than the rest of the world. So we've got capacity in terms of energy, in terms of young people. So how do we get them into the space where they can start contributing to Africa's GDP, Africa's economy. And that's the challenge that is out there for all of us, including myself, of how do we get more young people into the space? Because if we don't, a lot of the developed nations are facing challenges of aging populations. They will in the future come and take people from Africa and build their own industries at our expense. So we really need to ensure that we can take advantage of this battalion of young people that can develop the next growth trajectory for Africa. And the same applies if you look at population growth. We'll have 25% of the world's population by 2050. It means a quarter of the world will be in Africa. But that means there will be a demand to look after this population, a demand in terms of resources, a demand in terms of infrastructure. So the industry, such as mining, has got the potential to prepare us to be able to look after our people, when the time comes. Just some key policy interventions. The African Union has got an Agenda 2063. I was invited last week to the African Minerals Development Center, who are all looking at different ways to make Africa ready for the future in terms of mining. And one of the ones of the key policies, the African Continental Free Trade Area, which makes it easy, which intends to make it easy for countries in Africa to trade amongst each other, which is one of the problems because every country is currently doing everything by itself. So if we can bring together different countries' capabilities, we can actually have a force and have bargaining power when we negotiate contracts with some of our customers, in the developed nations. So that's the work that is being done. And I think if we get closer to this Africanist approach, and have more access in terms of moving from country to country. I mean, there's very few African countries today where you can go directly or fly directly. You still need to connect, sometimes even to Europe. So if we can take away some of these challenges, the visa requirements on the continent, we might be getting closer to increasing the capacity of the African continent to get together and have a stronger force in terms of preparing ourselves to challenge the global world in terms of our capacity to do business and to negotiate and get what we deserve in terms of negotiations. The last point I would like to make is on the following. The first, South Africa, our legacy of mining is a mixed bag. We've got good stories and not so good stories. And those, for me, are all opportunities to, we can't change the past, but we can learn from the past for us to be able to change the future of the industry. And that's where we need different ideas, different expertise, new group of different thinkers, critical thinkers, innovators to transform the industry. There's a demand for critical minerals to take us towards green energy, which is also its own industry where we are going to be relying on renewable energy, for our energy needs. Different skills are needed in that space, and those skills must be harnessed and must be developed now so that when the time comes, we are ready. Value addition and beneficiation, this talks a lot more about, we can't just give raw materials to other countries to make final products and then we buy final products for a lot more expensive prices or for a fraction of what we got when we sold them. So we need to work on this industrialization agenda so that we can be an industrialization hub and create proudly South African products that we can sell to the rest of the world, so that we can create proudly South African services that the rest of the world can learn from us. I mean, our legacy in mining, it's one of the best in the world. We've got in South Africa some of the most complex mining operations that the world does not have. We've got the best mining engineering skills. We've got the best skills, best policies, best investment institutions. We've got so much more to give the rest of the world. But that, requires us to be intentional about how do we position ourselves and make it our trademark, mining, so that we can use this industry to take the industry forward, and also the continent and South Africa forward. The last point is South Africa's potential is there. We've got a generational opportunity, colleagues, to take advantage and look at the contribution of mining and take an advantage of this contribution. We can actually amplify it. The future is here, the demand is there. And when you've got demand, and the accounting colleagues will assist me, then the supply becomes your constraint because the demand is there. So I would like to pause here and invite any comments or questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sir. That was very insightful. I think it opened my eyes. I hope even those who are listening and those who will join in later will get to see how broad this field is. Because for me, it was just mining engineering, okay, we are mining something, and then it ends there. And now most of the time think of it as mining from maybe a cold point of view, because that's what I usually see around, right? But now you've just opened my eyes up to say there's so many opportunities within this field. And now I'm just thinking, I see so many trucks carrying coal from one area to another. So when you speak about the logistic part of things, then it opens one's mind up in terms of the opportunities that are there. And I also heard you say that the company that you're with is 100% women owned. I thought the mining said,
No, I was saying
please
it's
correct
majority
me.
women owned through our
Oh,
shareholders.
it's
But it's
yes.
100%
So
black, proudly South African company.
100% black, proudly South African company, right? So with that being said, I always thought the mining space like is for males, you know, and then to hear that kind of like turns the tables, and I think it also says to the young person at home that even if you're a female, this is a field, you can go into it. And you mentioned things like you know, treatment of water, which is now a big thing. I mean, we are having water scarcity. So if now in mines there's a lot of water that is being used, and then there's ways to treat the water. And for me now, because I do research now, I'm also thinking, oh, that's a research subject area as well, like taking the water, seeing what minerals are there. I'm sure people in engineering do that kind of research. But I also would like for you to maybe explain to that young person somewhere who's maybe in, we'll start with the high school one, right? What subjects do you need to do when you're in, when you get into mining, and also now when you're at university, because I saw you have a master's degree. How do you get there? What is that? So that they at least have a picture of how you get into the journey, even the leadership aspect of things. Why is it so important? Why did you go and do this leadership program and even get a business admin postgrad, like those type of things? I think then it will tie everything up at maybe a level for someone who's in high school.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the remarks. Yeah, so I think starting with the high school choice of subjects. So for the core mining career, you know, for your mining engineering degree in mining, or if you want to follow the engineering route in mining, then maths and science, you know, it's where you should really have your focus, you know, as well as, you know, of course, the communication languages. And also in some cases, you know, earth sciences or geography, as we used to call it, life sciences or biology, as it used to be called. So those become your core. If you are looking at being somebody who goes into mining, core careers, you know, your mechanical engineering, your mining engineering, your environmental engineering. So anything engineering related would need those subjects. However, for people that take the commercial route, you can still go and do your BCom, still do your accountancy, or economics, and you can end up being on the other part of the mining area that I spoke about, that you can become an economist in mining to come and tell us what will the prices of certain metals and minerals be, you know, in 5 years' time, you know, do those kind of projections. So it's not really limited to people who go into core mining, you know, into the engineering related, you know, areas. But even when you go to university, you can still within the e-commerce space still find a niche, you know, into mining. And that's where the discussion around, you know, so for somebody who's in high school, even if you've done commerce or in the commerce route already, you chose commerce, you can still at some point, and that's where I'll just talk about now, start looking at how to specialize. Because in the space of business, you know, being a generalist doesn't really set you apart. You need to find a way to make your skills unique and specialized. You know, everybody can go and do accounting, but what are you good at? And what do you specialize in? That's what's going to set you apart. Everyone can research, but is your research attracting funding? You know, is your research attracting interest? Is your research building into a career? So it's all about being specialist in whatever that you decide to do. So high school, if you've got a choice to decide, definitely the engineering would need mining, English, biology, geography, those type of courses. If you're already in the commerce space, you can still go and do the commercial route. You can still go and be a lawyer. We need lawyers in mining as well. So that will come later on. So that is the high school part. The university part, you know, in most cases, undergraduate degrees are very generalistic in their approach. They give you the basis of, the field of study. If it's engineering, they give you the basis of engineering. And that's at undergrad level, whether it's a diploma or it's a degree, it normally gives you the foundation of whatever career field you are in. And then once you have done that undergrad, then you've got an opportunity through an honors program or through a master's program to then look at specializing. And that's where you now need to do research and look at what other areas you want to be in. I mean, I was talking about a lot of opportunities in mining. Let's say, for example, I've done commerce, but I feel like I want to become an investment banker in mining so I can help the industry attract investments. It means after you've done your BCom degree, now you must start looking at investment banking qualifications that can relate to mining and help you to get that next job at one of the banking institutions. So after you've done your undergrad, you still have a chance, to specialize and, have an opportunity to move into whatever field that you still want to go into. And that's where, the additional research helps in terms of where to position yourself. For me, when I was in mining, I got interested in, sustainability and how do we make the industry to be better and leave better footprint for the future. And that's why I'm in the space where I'm talking about tailings management, talking about mineral processing, because all of this, are so close to leave the footprint that mining leaves behind, and that's how I made the choice. And lastly, in terms of leadership, I think with every career, starting with self-leadership, I mean, you need to start, leadership starts with oneself.
Thank you very much there, Mr.
Did my connection go away?
Yes, you had cut.
Okay, it's back now.
Yeah.
Sorry, no problem. So self-leadership would then allow you to be able to develop the skills that you need to lead other people. And what is also important is the soft skills, colleagues, because we might be working remotely, we might be working on different projects. You must be able to learn the basic skills of business, the skills to engage with people, the skills to build a team, the skills to resolve conflict, the skills to get the best out of people, and the skills to solve problems and how to put your point across. Because, in business, it's not so much what it's how you can put it across to convince the next person. So it's all the soft skills that become important as you grow a career. So having a degree is important. It gives you, an opportunity to open the door, but to really get into the room and make an impact, there's other small skills or soft skills that you need to really go into that space and, take up space and make a difference. So work on the soft skills as well. And I know in today's social media space, we don't really interact as we're supposed to, but it's really incumbent on all of us to work on the social skills and make sure that you are able to put your point across. Because, I know a lot of people who are so brilliant, but they struggle to put the point across. So people will never know what you know unless you can put it across and sell that deal, sell that business idea so that investors can give you money to build the business, or sell that idea to convince government, to convince your company, to convince your colleagues or even your friends to start a business. So to do all of that requires some soft skills that I think, in addition to formal qualifications, we should also put an effort in building them. And it comes in many ways, from just learning how to present, to engaging yourself in different organizations. It can be NPOs, it can be societies, it can be student formations at varsity, it can even be local formations, the community, youth forums. In those kind of spaces, you learn the skills of standing up and putting your point across, and all of that becomes so important. And it will also help you to specialize. Like I said, you need to be a specialist at something. People should know that when it comes to this particular part of this activity, we need to call you very quickly. And if you can quickly learn and start working on what areas of your career you want to specialize in, the quicker you'll have a chance to stand out. And when you stand out, you get noticed. Thank you, Minindle.
So much. Thanks a lot. That was very insightful. Please remember to do share your questions on the chat box if you do have a question, and also remember to then engage on social media. So on Twitter, it's at Proudly SA, and then also on Instagram, Proudly proudly.sa, and then on Facebook, it's Proudly South African. And then also, if you do, like I did mention that this Proudly South African is a membership based organization. So if you want to be a member or you want to inquire about the membership, please just send an email to alicia@proudlysouthafrican.co.za. I will also type it out for you on the chat box, and then you can always have that email and engage from that point or onwards. Okay, and then thank you so much, sir. Now we'll be moving to our next speaker, who will be sorry about that. I just muted myself. So we'll be moving to Mr. Denzel Swart, who is from Zoetendal, right? A wine manufacturing company. So Mr. Swart is a trailblazer and a recognized leader in the South African wine industry. I'm sure you've heard about the wine. It is an award-winning wine. And his journey has been remarkable from childhood. He grew up in Stellenbosch, which then had influential industry figures that exemplified resilience, determination, and visionary leadership. Right. And he's currently the sales and brand executive of the Zoetendal Vineyards. Right. And then he also plays a pivotal role in driving the brand's excellence whilst advocating for inclusivity and transformation in the wine sector. So he's got like a lot of things that he does, right? He does serve in several influential boards within South Africa. So one of them being the South African Wine Industry Professionals Body, where he champions professional development and transformation. He is also part of the Pinotage Youth Development Academy, where he's the director, and he's committed to nurturing young talent from disadvantaged communities, equipping them with the skills to excel in the wine and hospitality industries. Right. He's also acting chairperson for the Black Sellers Club, right, where he drives education and inclusivity for wine enthusiasts across the African continent. He is also the founder and the director of the Son of the Soil Leadership Foundation, right? And then he's been recognized for a lot of things. I won't say everything. Some of the things he will touch on as he speaks, but he has been named as one of the South Africa's top 40 under 40 finalists in 2023 for his transformative leadership in agriculture. So he will then speak to us about agri-processing opportunities in food production and also in supply chain. Mr. Denzel, I think you're there. Your bio is very long. I can spend like almost an hour just introducing you. So please honor us and yeah, take us through the field of agri-processing, what opportunities are there, how did you learn about the field, and all these influential things that we read about in your bio. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have to apologize for maybe the background noise because I've just landed back in Cape Town from 2 weeks in Europe. So I didn't want you to miss the opportunity either to share a little bit about the agriculture sector to everybody that's online. I think first and foremost, just to start off by saying that I think a lot of the times when we look at the agriculture sector, we seemingly try to define it very much in South Africa as only around the general labor part of it. And if I have to basically package what the sector is that I work in, and I can only speak for the for the wine sector and not other agricultural products to it. But I think the mechanisms are very much the same. In the wine sector, as you said, Chair, I grew up as a farm child, knowing that only the opportunity that existed for me was to become another third generation in my family as a field laborer, cutting vines and working as such. But my determination was really to see the South African wine industry change, and not necessarily seeing the wine industry change in the sense that it needed to transform. The wine industry is very transformed. A lot of the workers are Black workers in the sector. However, what was not transformed at that stage was the different levels of work opportunity within the sector. So of course, my vision was to change that specifically, to ensure that we start seeing more and more people of color moving into the more senior positions in the industry and starting to have a conversation or at least a seat at the table to change the sector from the top downwards. And so that.
Hi, how are you? Sorry.
Sorry. So that pretty much took me on a whole journey where I needed to understand what is it in agriculture. We kind of defined it as primary production. So primary production for us is pretty much what's happening right underground. So from soil preparation right through to the vine, looking after the vines. And then, of course, the important thing is to ensure that you place the various mechanisms around it. So if we just look at primary production, in primary production, essentially, we talk about the general laborer or the vineyard worker. A lot of those vineyard workers are quite specialized in pruning techniques. So how do we prune the vineyard so that it can give us an ultimate good quality product at the end? Secondly, to that, another job opportunity is soil preparation. In the vine production, you actually need specialists, and they call them soil scientists, to help with preparing the soil, the land, understanding the various soil types that there is, whether it is the correct soil type to plant a specific species. And that could be across various other agriculture products exactly the same. And then, of course, as the vine are growing up, it's important then to say what techniques we do in the vineyards to ensure the quality output of the fruits that we're going to get. And for that, you normally go and study viticulture. The soil scientist in the primary production is important. And then viticulture, how to work with the vine is important. Then there's a second component to that. After the primary is done, then we go into what we refer to as the secondary production. And in secondary production, in wine, we talk about what's happening after the fruit has been taken off the vine and is now moving into the next phase or stage. And that stage is where we work in the cellar. And in the cellar, there's a word that they use, and they say cellar hand. That is the person, more the general person assisting in the cellar. But somebody supporting that person is a winemaker. And that is a qualification that you can go and study for. After winemaking, what you also need as part of that secondary production team is your scientists that will check for the alcohol, that will check for sulfur in the wines. So there you need lab technicians that obviously study that field of understanding the chemical reactions of the wines, and especially moving from a grape that is actually only grape juice and adding yeast to form an alcohol beverage, which is called wine. So that essentially plays quite a big role in that sort of secondary production part. But then we can't have a product which comes from a fruit to a secondary product, which is a wine, and then just have it there. We actually need another skill set after that to take the product to market. And in that product to market, of course, what we need there is logistics. How does the product move from the farm through the value chain into a supermarket, through the value chain into international market, where I was just right now exploring how we can export more, understanding that there's shipping containers that needs to be booked, there's ships that needs to be booked, so the logistics around that is quite a bit. And then, of course, you need marketing. So marketing specialists are critical in taking the product from the farm into the market and making it look glamorous enough for people to pick up the bottle, understand the label, and then eventually taking a sip. But together with that sort of tertiary, and I'll say it's the tertiary part of it, is also the fact that at that stage you're going to need other people in the value chain that will assist. So when you go to a supermarket in South Africa and you see somebody standing in a store and pouring the wines, it's normally people that's called sommeliers. And that is also a qualification which in South Africa is a skills, a very rare skill. And they study wine and food pairing. And their particular job is to do promotions in stores, but also when you visit a restaurant, that they're able to talk about the wine, where it's from, and how the wine and the food actually combines to give a sense of best experience in the restaurant. And that is very, very scarce at the moment in South Africa. You have a lot of waiters, but not a lot of wine specialists, which the career for the wine specialist in a restaurant setup is called a sommelier. And that is something that's quite huge. Looking at from that point of view, now that you've had your marketeers, you've had your sommeliers promoting the brand, what is also important, which, and in my childhood, I thought that it's not a career in the wine industry. But the wine industry also needs accountants. They also need doctors. They also need nurses. They also need first aiders, medical teams that work under with the different establishments. So I do think from an agricultural perspective, it's just like any other business. The career opportunities are endless in the agriculture sector. And if you can think of a career, you'd be able to plug that career within the wine or the agriculture sector, because ultimately what it is a business run in a specific sector, the same as mining, the same as corporate world. And I think that it's, for me, just from that perspective, to say that there's a lot of opportunities. If you are a strategic thinker and you study strategy, that's something that is needed on most wine farms on board level, where you go in and you assist the farm management on how to place their strategy to best go to market, to cut out waste in the processes for optimal profits. So I think, Chair, from that point of view, that is the career opportunities that exist in wine. I think it's important to say that there's very few primary and secondary universities for wine available in the country. Majority of those are sitting in Stellenbosch and in Cape Town. And I wish there could be more of those around the country, so that you don't necessarily need to be in the Western Cape to study in this direction, or to have exposure to winemaking or viticulture for vineyards. I think I'll leave it there. If there's any questions, Chair, then I'm happy to answer those.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Denzel. That was very insightful. I think whoever is looking at going into the wine space or the agricultural space will actually learn a lot, because you mentioned from primary production, there's opportunities there, being a pruner, being a soil scientist. You mentioned something like viticulture, you mentioned secondary production where you can be a winemaker. You mentioned food science and technology, where you'll now be testing the percentage of the wine. So I think it was clear what the career opportunities are, even the logistics part of things, and the sommeliers, which is a new term for me, and the wine pouring. I just thought those people who pour wine in restaurants, or even when you visit the wine vineyards in Cape Town, that they're just what do you call them? Bartenders or something like that. I never actually knew that there's a term for them and it's a skill. I thought it's like one of those things that you do out of passion. So you probably have tasted the wines and then you now know this one pairs with that. But as you mentioned it kind of makes sense why you would need to study for that, because how else would you then know this pairs with this type of food? Or, and then I'm guessing that there are also the people who will then influence what is written on the packaging material to say, you know, when you read the wine bottle at the back, they will say maybe best served with, let's say, fish, or it has these flavor notes. Okay, now we get to learn about something new from you, and also how you mentioned the accounting space, the first aiders, the nurses that would then work within the wine manufacturing premises. So I think you have shifted our mindsets about agriculture, because the minute we say agriculture, the first thing that comes to mind is the primary part of agriculture. Like we are plowing things, we are grafting, taking from one branch to the other, mixing the stems, or maybe you can even think about the soil preparation, but it ends there. But now I think you've kind of like highlighted it to the broader audience. Even the kid who's in high school, I think, can see the career opportunities within the wine space. And I liked also when you spoke about how you can also be a strategist and find yourself in the agricultural space, particularly agri-processing, where you can now help those people who are in agriculture to then come up with strategies on how to generate money, and how to also manage their waste, so that they are not generating a lot of waste and then end up losing money. So I think that was quite insightful. I was looking forward to hearing about this agri-processing. I'm familiar with it, but when you are now trying it to supply chain, and then now it gets to paint a picture of the opportunities that are there in agriculture, especially because we have Cape Town, right? And we are one of the best wine producers in even in the world, right? So this was very, very insightful for me. So now when you want to be this sommelier, where do you study?
So Chair, there's various schools currently. There's the Cape Wine Academy, and what's nice about them is they have various levels of short courses that build up to your final trade test to become a sommelier. And the Cape Wine Academy is based across South Africa, so you can do it in Johannesburg as well. Um, and then there's another international one called the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, well known as WSET, which is an international accredited qualification. And we currently actually seeing a lot of the South African qualified sommeliers eventually making their ways onto the cruise liners, and it's now working across the world because of that qualification. Um, I do think, Chair, just to end off also, because it's there might be a lot of young people that say, I also want to travel and I want to explore the world. With a lot of the qualifications, and especially from the marketing and sales and logistics part of the wine sector, the world is really open for you to work from anywhere in the world in that space. I've just traveled Denmark, and because of the current international state that we have with the US, there seems to be a lot for South African wines to enter the market, and there seems to be a lot of need also for South Africans to start working in other countries to start talking about the South African wines. So there's also a lot of international travel opportunities within this space.
So much. I think that's very interesting, particularly, especially for the young people, if you want to work and also have flexibility, because I think most of the time when we think of agriculture, we just think you have to be stationed in one place. So you are bringing in another aspect that we never thought of. Thank you so much for contributing to this conversation. We will now move to our next speaker, which is Mr. Mafule Muswane. So because of time, I will not go very deep into his biography. Also, he has a very long one. So he is the co-founder, the vision bearer, the board chairperson of the Faculty of Best Advisory, which was founded in 2012. This organization is aimed at informing, uplifting, and empowering people throughout South Africa and even Africa and the world at large. It basically facilitates the transition from high school to university and from university to the world of work. So Mr. Muswane is a former lecturer and an academic and also a researcher at the Kansas State University in the United States of America, where he lived or taught at the university between 2019 and 2020. I have to mention also that he has studied environmental sciences, and for his master's he majored in geography, archaeology, and environmental sciences at Wits. So Mr. Mafule will basically take us through transformational leadership for youth development, right? And he will then get to also share his journey with us. He has done a lot of things. It's just that because of time constraints, I won't be able to mention each and every detail of his biography. Mr. Muswane.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if I'm audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, thank you so very much, Chair Dr. Minentle, and everyone, and proudly South African for the opportunity to share my views and perspective in terms of transformational leadership for youth development. So I thought of sharing something in line of the state of our nation. And I want to premise my conversation on the fact that we live in a country that is the most unequal society in the world, according to the World Bank. And we have unemployment at 32% or so as of the results of the fourth quarter of 2024. So I want to premise the conversation from that vantage point, understanding that we have unemployment, we have an unequal society, and there is a need for a new form of leadership, and that's transformational leadership, which will lead to society changing in mindset, to society changing holistically and in different sectors across board. It doesn't have to necessarily operate in silos. And this is me speaking to young people, but also all stakeholders of society, to say in the 21st century world, a world that is characterized by complex challenges and driven by 21st century digital technology that is fast changing and evolving, we need young people to equip themselves, not only with degrees and just certificates, but I have to learn leadership skills, because It has been characterized by researchers that, for example, the biggest challenge in Africa is leadership. So to solve this big challenge and many others that we confronted with, then we have to address the matter of leadership. Hence, I want to encourage young people to learn about leadership. But this does not only happen in the classroom. I encourage young people, even seniors and professionals, to take up volunteering opportunities at different organizations, be it at a local soccer club, be it at a local food garden at a school, be it anywhere where there's an opportunity to volunteer, even at a business, even if you are unemployed. I think the fundamental question or situation here is to say you cannot sit idle. An idle mind is a dangerous mind, and we need to get our people to work. And that means even them volunteering so that they can acquire the skills, because the economy that we live in is a skills-driven economy. And those are the key perspectives I want to usher to say young people, wherever they are, they must learn skills of leadership, and they learn that through volunteering, involving themselves. If they are at universities, they need to take part in clubs and societies. This could be political, religious, or school-based, or house committees of their respective residences, or school councils that they belong. This is where they will learn skills that are relevant in the 21st centuries, which include but not limited to communication skills, critical thinking skills, creative thinking skills, organizing skills, and these are the skills that are sought after by companies that are looking for new graduates, because they set graduates apart, and that will also enable the graduates not only to have their degree or certificate, but also be individuals that are well equipped with knowledge and skills that they can translate and sell to whoever is recruiting them. Furthermore, in alignment with the topic, is for young people to be entrepreneurial in their mindset. This is to say, young people should be in a position to start creating solutions, products, services that they can sell by themselves. This will not only help them, but will help society at large, because as and when they start their own businesses, their own projects, and those projects eventually get to grow, that will in some shape or form solve the crisis of unemployment, subsequently the crime that we confronted with, and subsequently equally address some of the challenges we are faced with, which could be mentioned, such as, for example, global climate change, among others, load shedding. So if young people then say, let us address these challenges by coming up with alternative forms of energy, by installing solar panels, equipping young themselves and others with skills to install solar panels, to use other forms of energy such as biogas, and installing those in communities, in households, then there will be an opportunity for them to have various opportunities that will attract other young people to be absorbed, but also to drive the economy. So those are the key subjects and perspectives that I'm proposing, because we come from a historical past of injustice, and to address that, we need to think holistically about what solutions should be there. And one of the proposed solution is that we need to be urgent in creating and grooming future leaders that will help address these major challenges. And furthermore, young people must work collaboratively. They must have global awareness, because the world that we live in today is interconnected. So you can do business while you're in South Africa with someone that is based in the UK. So if young people have that global awareness and cultural diversity, which are all the skills that are not potentially taught in the classroom, they will then be best fit to be active in the economy, but also in society at large, to be productive citizens of our nation. And I think beyond that is to say young people should, at the very least, be finding themselves active wherever they are. And that's how they will be able to attract opportunities. And furthermore, look for mentors in the space that they want to find themselves now or in the near future. To say, if, for example, I want to be in leadership and Mafule is a role player in that space, let me find myself being mentored by them, so that because they know about opportunities in the space, then they can pass on the opportunities to me. So I've spoken about mostly three things: entrepreneurial mindset, exploring and advancing leadership, but most importantly, seeking mentorship. And those are not just, for example, things to attend to for the sake of addressing any other issue, but to address major deep-rooted crises of our nation, which include but not limited to the unequal society that we live in as the most unequal in the world, according to the World Bank, the unemployment rate that is staggering, but also the high levels of poverty that we are confronted with as a nation. So in a nutshell, that's where I want to leave it for today, but I'm excited and grateful for the opportunity. And thank you for everyone for their massive participation. And I'll be open to take questions and comments if there are any. Thank you very much, Dr. Minentle.
So much, Leadership Mafule is popularly known for your insights on leadership, right? We spoke about transformational leadership. You also mentioned servant leadership, right? Where you volunteer in whether it's organization at your university or if you're at school, in high school, you can volunteer around your home. You mentioned religious organizations and so on. And I think what you were saying also ties in, probably Mika would then agree with you, right? Right there at ABC, because she's in HR, to say that when you speak about volunteering, it does make your CV quite different from the other candidates. And I think also Magata did also mention such things about leadership, and he even went on to even study a program in leadership, right? And then I guess this is a very, very important skill to have. Leadership skills are very important. They do set you apart beyond the opportunity or the qualification that you've had. I don't think we have any questions on our chat box. Okay, and then in the absence of questions from anyone, I think because this recording will be there on YouTube, people can always leave their comments and questions there, and then we will engage as and when there's a need, right? So as we wrap up, I would like to sincerely thank our panelists for sharing their expertise, their experiences today. And I would like to also give a big thank you to the Proudly South African team for making this event possible. It shows that they are truly proudly South African, right? Having such or preparing such engagements and conversations for the young South Africans to be able to then make informed career decisions. And I wish I was living in such a time. Maybe I would have been been in a different career path. Maybe I would have made more informed career decisions, because back in our time, I don't think we had things like this. So we'd just choose based on what sounds nice or what is popular or what makes money, without even knowing what career opportunities are there. And I believe that this conversation has also helped to break certain stereotypes about certain career fields. Like I was saying to Makate that I just thought engineering is mining is just going underground, you mine the minerals and it ends there. I didn't look at the bigger picture, but he helped to paint a bigger picture. He helped to kind of introduce other career opportunities that are there. Same applies with Mika, she also gave us an overview of the career opportunities that could be there in your engineering sector and in manufacturing, right? She spoke about mechanical engineering. She spoke about quality assurance and quality control. And we also had Mr. Denzel, who told us a lot about the agri-processing space and supply chain and how you get to move from farm to fork, or in their case, from, I will say, farm to your wine glass, right? Or the bottle, the wine bottle. So I hope that this conversation was able to then paint an overview or give you a broader picture of the company, of the career opportunities that are there that you can have a look at as a young South African, and then ultimately be able to then contribute to the production of local products, right? So to our audience, I do thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here, you engaging with us, and we hope that you do realize that this webinar is there because the future of South Africa's workforce really depends on you and the choices that you will make, and also from a consumer point of view, how you will then buy proudly South African products. Please, let's continue the conversation on the social media platforms using the hashtag buy local to create local jobs. Okay, this then concludes our webinar. Thank you all and do have a lovely day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.